What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover Original Show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this Monday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Hrelja. Today we talk about the top 5 quarterback rookie prospects in this 2021 class, how they looked in their first preseason game this past week, and once we're done with that, we need to talk about the basketball card market because I do think that there's a shift happening. So looking at football cards, looking at the football market, I have not really talked about this rookie quarterback class for a reason, because all we've seen so far are collegiate cards, and what we've seen historically is that these cards really don't get demand long-term, because people do not want to be collecting cards of players in their college uniforms. They want them in their pro uniforms. But in a few weeks from now, the season does officially start, and the preseason is underway. We're seeing all these guys playing. In early September, we're going to get Donruss releasing, we're going to see Origins releasing, and you are going to have the ability to collect cards of this new rookie class. So I think it'll be very valuable for me today to walk you through my thoughts on all the top quarterbacks, how you should be handling the markets of these players if you do want to jump in, because just buying a player and hoping he plays good isn't necessarily always going to work. Clyde Hilaire had an amazing week 1 against the Texans in that first Thursday night game of the season. His Donruss base rookie card went all the way up to $100. This is now a $3 card because people were buying into FOMO. It was the first release of the year, and it was a mass-produced base card. So I don't want you guys falling into those kinds of traps. I want you guys to truly be buying players in this class that you believe in and buying them at the right time so you can win a lot more than you can lose. So let's talk about how each of these 5-star quarterbacks produce in their first preseason game. If we look at Trevor Lawrence, he's universally regarded as a generational talent in terms of being a top draft pick coming out. We have not seen a guy as highly regarded as Trevor Lawrence since probably Andrew Luck a decade ago. So Trevor Lawrence has super lofty expectations put upon him. And I do like Urban Meyer. I like some of the system that they have around him in Jacksonville. But it's going to be a few-year process, and that's okay. We look at someone like Peyton Manning in his rookie year, having a quarterback rating of 71, then jumping that up to 90 in his second year. I believe that Trevor Lawrence has the potential to have an amazing career, and I do think that he's a great long-term play in the sports car market. But I also think that when the releases first initially happen over these next few months, people are going to be paying insane prices for Trevor Lawrence cards, and given how I believe that this team is not going to make the playoffs and how I believe that this team is going to have struggles, Trevor Lawrence will have great flashes. And similar to the Joe Burrow last year, he'll have them in games that they have no business being in. But by the time we get to December and the games really matter, Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence will be a complete afterthought in terms of what everybody's looking at in the league. And that's honestly how I think about Zack Wilson too. You might believe that Zack Wilson could be a great long-term play. I still don't like grabbing his cards this season because I don't think that the Jets are going to be great. We know he's going to be a starter just like Trevor Lawrence, so there's really no ability to increase hype because it's expected that Zack Wilson's going to be a starter. And what are the Jets going to be? A 6 to 8 win team? They're going to be better than they were. It's going to be a step up. I do think Zack Wilson's going to be good, but you watched that first preseason game. There were a lot of check down passes. He's obviously still trying to get comfortable with the game, which is completely reasonable for a rookie's first preseason game. But based on how the card market values rookies, I want you guys to know that the hype that we're going to see in these next few months during the start of the season and all the releases happening, those prices are not going to hold into December and January when these players aren't in the postseason. For a young player to hold demand for extended periods of time, you need 2 things to happen. 1, he needs to be on a winning team, and number 2, he has to be performing at a great level for his age. If we look at someone like Zack Williamson this past season, there were times in the season where he wasn't getting appreciated because even though he was having months where he was averaging 30 points per game, the Pelicans weren't winning enough, and this is why there was a lot of fluctuations with its card prices, and this is why I believe right now people are undervaluing Zion, because the standard of winning at a high level is just unrealistic for some of these superstar players going to bad teams. Trevor Lawrence and Zack Wilson are going to awful teams. They're going to teams that are rebuilding, that have had 0 success over the last few seasons. So assuming that they're going to be able to play great is just unfair. Whereas if we look at guys like Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones, number 1, all 3 of these players have the potential to become starters this season, which would add a level of juice to their sports car market. But on top of this, they all play for competent franchises that can win playoff games. If we look at Mac Jones, out of the 3, he's the one I'm the least excited about. But just think about the optics of the situation for a second. If Mac Jones halfway through the season replaces Cam Newton as the starter, and we have an unathletic quarterback playing for the Patriots, and he plays well, don't think for a second that people aren't going to start talking about, oh, Bill Belichick has his new Tom Brady for the future. He's going to win so many Super Bowls. Mac Jones might not be the most talented, but he could be a system quarterback. And we saw Tom Brady win 6 Super Bowls in New England being a system quarterback. And I believe that take is absolute nonsense if it does happen. But don't think that it won't. We hear these kinds of things happen all the time. We look at Devon Booker. The first 4 years of his career, nobody was touching his cards really. It wasn't until the Suns went 8-0 in the bubble last year, and then this past season, they made it obviously to the NBA Finals. But if we compare 2 seasons ago to last season to this season, Devon Booker has been a high-level scorer all of these years. The difference is that the Suns have built a better team around him. They now have Chris Paul. They're winning games, and then we saw Devon Booker's card market explode. So when we compare guys like Trevor Lawrence and Zack Wilson to guys like Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I don't think that it's fair. If Justin Fields gets announced a starter and he starts the season, or maybe a couple weeks into the season, he takes a starting job from Andy Dalton, because I don't think Dalton's going to be able to have that spot all season long. Based on what he did on the Cowboys last year, nothing tells me that he's going to be able to win 10 games. The NFC North is pretty tough. Chicago has a good team. They really don't have a tolerance for bad quarterback play. They just dealt with Mitch Trubisky for years. So based on the flashes that Justin Fields showed in this first preseason game, the Bears are going to have to give him a shot pretty early on in the season. And when this happens, he's going to be in a very good situation to succeed. He's going to be able to win games. He has a great defense. He has a great wide receiver 1 in Allen Robinson. And he's going to be able to look good way more than someone like Zack Wilson is. And if we find Justin Fields in his rookie year playing in a postseason game for Chicago, there is very high potential for his cards to do well this season. Zack Wilson cards are going to be very hot when the releases happen. If you pull it in a pack, you can win a lot. But I don't see a situation where his cards then go up even more unless the Jets play phenomenal and win close to 10 games. But the rookie that I believe is going to be the most hyped this year, the quarterback who I believe his card prices are going to hold the most for the longest period of time, it has to be Trey Lance, and it's a super simple reason why. Number one, the 49ers are the best team in terms of all the teams led by rookie quarterbacks. And on top of that, he truly has the talent to hype people up. In his first preseason game over the weekend, I thought he looked really good. I think he's making a strong case to start games this season. We saw in the first preseason game, he had an 80-yard touchdown pass. These are the kinds of things you want to be seeing from rookie quarterbacks, and he's in a very easy situation. We look at this 49ers team 2 years ago, they made the Super Bowl, and if we look at last year, it's not fair to just look at their record and assume they're going to play similar this year, because a lot of their team was hurt. Guys like George Kittle were banged up. Nick Bosa missed a season, one of the best defensive linemen in the league. The 49ers are stacked as a roster. They're healthy now, and I would be surprised if the 49ers aren't a double-digit win team, which, if Trey Lance is starting for them, he is going to get a lot of love, a lot of primetime games, and a lot of people thinking that he could genuinely win Super Bowls. It is going to take a lot for Trevor Lawrence to win Super Bowls in Jacksonville. It is going to be a 3-4 year process of them becoming a very good team. We look at Zack Wilson. It's going to take time. Not saying that Trey Lance is more talented than these guys, or saying that Justin Fields is more talented, but I would rather put my money this season into Justin Fields or Trey Lance if they get the starting gig, because they're going to have the ability to play really good and win games. This is not possible with Zack Wilson or Trevor Lawrence. And it's going to depend when the release calendar happens, because we may get some big releases happening before someone like Trey Lance or Justin Fields gets moved up to being a starter. So there will be a window where their card prices have an opportunity to jump. Or there's also the potential that they get announced a starter and they're playing great before releases like Prism and Optic happen. So you won't be able to get them on a discount compared to guys like Trevor Lawrence and Zack Wilson. So just how much upside some of these quarterbacks have is going to rely heavily on when these releases happen in the season. We don't yet have official word on when things like Prism, Optic, and Select are going to come out for this football season. But when I find out, I will let you guys know. And I really have one main takeaway that I want you guys to have, which is the fact I believe in February, you will be able to get better prices on many Zack Wilson and Trevor Lawrence cards relative to when releases happen in October and November. Whereas if we look at guys like Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I do think that if they're playing into January and getting into postseason games, there's the potential for their card market to continue to increase, which could give you the confidence to just jump into the cards you like during the middle of the season, not feeling like waiting until after the year, because you genuinely believe they're going to have a great second half of the season and show flashes of greatness in the postseason, and then you'll never be able to buy in cheaper. So that's really where my head's at with this football card market right now, looking at these rookies. I think it was really important for me to explain to you guys that you need to play well and your team needs to win games, because some people just hope that if a player plays good, his card prices will hold, and that just isn't the case. People are not fixated on football cards all year round. There's a reason why with vet cards, we really see guys like Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, all these guys, rookie cards, will see a dip from September to November. It's just natural behavior from collectors where the initial juice of the season is lost. People start looking at basketball. People start looking at buying baseball in the offseason. But then when the second half of the football season comes around, we're looking at the postseason. People start to get excited again, and players playing the playoffs see some really nice price increases. But we look at a guy like Deshaun Watson last year, he was one of the best few quarterbacks in the league. Some argue that he was the most productive QB in the league. And if you look at his card prices, they dropped 75-80% from September to November before any of this allegation stuff even happened, based strictly off of the Texans playing poorly, nobody being interested in jumping into his cards. Because if you're a quarterback of a bad football team, why does somebody have to buy your cards in October or November when they could just wait until 4 or 5 months later to buy them for probably around the same price? And in that window of time, you could have spent it on a card like basketball that you think has the ability to go up in the short term. I'm extremely excited for this football season. I think there are tons of great opportunities in the football card market. If you remember a couple months back, talking on this show, I was telling you guys that something like a Mike Evans Topps Chrome rookie card ungraded, it was selling for $1. This card is now $12. If you look at all these quarterbacks, what their prices were in May, most of them are up now, and football collectors are happy. And the closer we get to the season, I'll update you guys on how I think you guys should be handling the market. And now moving on to basketball, we saw National Treasures release last week, and people were extremely excited. I have not seen this many people in rooms watching breaks happen on Instagram Live since Prism Basketball 3 or 4 months ago. People were completely hyped up about the product. We've seen viral videos going around of LaMelo RPAs, Anthony Edwards RPAs. But over the last few days, there's been a lot of chatter in the hobby about why is National Treasures held to such a high premium relative to some other high-end products. Because if we look at the patches on these RPAs from National Treasures, you flip the card over, and on the back, it doesn't say that it's game worn. It doesn't even say that it's player or event worn. Most of these patches are saying that they have no association with the player whatsoever. And I think it's making some people question if this is really your best place to put money. You could be buying something like Optic Contenders, and you could be buying on-card autos for what I believe are relative prices compared to a lot of different things in the market. I really like Optic Contenders, especially for the 2018 class. I'm like Trey Young. I think it's a great value play right now. But we also can look at something like Flawless, where a lot of times these RPAs are guaranteed to be game worn. And I posted on Instagram yesterday a picture of a Zion Williamson Gold Flawless RPA number to 10 selling for $17,000, and a Zion NT RPA number to 75. It was a PSA 9. The Flawless was ungraded, but the NT is selling for $32,000. The card isn't more rare. The patch isn't game worn, where the Flawless one is, and the Flawless still sells for half the price. And obviously there's some variability with the card being ungraded, but across the board, we do see NT RPAs be held to a high premium. But overall, what I'm seeing is this. Over the last few months, I've seen a lot of people in the hobby try to truly become more collectors and not just people who are trying to make quick flips. And this has caused people to really find a curated collection that works for them, trying to really go down the rabbit hole of finding their favorite players, the best cards that they want. And this is why a lot of people are starting to say, I would rather pay a slight premium for an on-card auto rather than a sticker auto. Or I want this patch because it's game worn rather than buying this patch that has no association with the player. And I'm not trying to say some of these cards are going to crash in price. If you own an NTRPA of someone like Ja Morant and Ja comes out next year and looks like a top 15 player in the world, I'm sure that NT goes up in price. But it's also true that if the market shifts, we might see something like his Flawless RPA that's game worn. That card might go up a lot more in price, and you might enjoy collecting that card even more. Because if you're thinking as a collector, you want to be buying the best things possible that you can afford. Why would you want a patch that has no association with the player if you could have a game worn patch? Why would you have a sticker auto compared to an on-card auto where the player physically signed that individual card? And I think this also raises other questions where people in some instances pay the same price relatively for a basic refractor silver as they could be paying for a colored parallel. And I've been talking about this with football cards over the last few months. Daniel Jones is a guy who I've been talking about consistently, where we've been seeing his hype go up the closer we get to the season. And his silver Prism rookie card PSA 10 has been selling for more than his orange Prism rookie card PSA 10. Well, the orange is numbered. I'm going to take a numbered parallel every single time. And long term, if he does become a demanded quarterback and a true franchise guy, the orange Prism is going to end up being a more expensive card. And even though that silver card might go up in price because people want his cards even more, the numbered stuff, the things that are truly underappreciated, the market is going to continue to adjust more and more in that direction and become more efficient. So I appreciate you listening to this Monday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Frank Hrelja, and I'll be back again on Wednesday.
Vover!